Welcome back to Confront Your Mind. I'm Jolynn,
I'm Tiffany. Join us as we talk about how to confront the uncomfortable in life,
while also allowing space for laughter as we learn.
So today we're going to be talking about healthy friendship.
Yeah, we are.
Excited.
Yeah.
And okay. So first, before we start digging into it, we are going to do our segment of having a moment.
And before that,
what?
Welcome to our video podcast.
Oh yeah.
This is the first time we're doing video
now.
Yeah. So that's super exciting.
We're excited about that.
Mm-hmm. So you'll find us on your local YouTube shortly.
And TikTok.
So
now can we do having a moment? Okay. So now
let's
we're
have
having a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Yeah. Rock my socks off.
All right. Well, it's kind of something you already know, but I'll do this week's moment. I quit my job.
It's crazy.
So I did.
I did know about this.
Yeah. And I have done this many times, but it is something. Why are you nodding?
She has done this many times.
I have. I've done it. Like, probably at this point you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're gonna quit your job. Not surprised. But so you'd think by this time that it would be easy for me, but it's not. Right. It's very difficult, and it provokes a lot of anxiety for me to quit my job. And so I told Jolynn that I needed a pep talk, and she was there for me for that. So thank you. And because a lot of times what I want to do is I want to just not quit and then just like not show up one day.
Disappear.
The like good old Irish goodbye, but in a job form, which I don't think as an adult is okay. Your favorite what?
My favorite goodbye is an Irish goodbye.
Yeah, it's great. And I just wish I could do it for a job.
Yeah, you could.
You can, but I don't. I think it's frowned upon in the adult community of work, is what I think. But I was able to do it with the help of a friend, and all I just needed was a little bit of pep talk. But yeah, so I get a lot of anxiety, and I've been trying to do better. Actually, I've done so much better in the past couple of years. As you know, I've worked on not being avoidant in general, and I've gotten much better at it. But in this one thing, I just can't. I'm so avoidant towards it, and I just want to avoid it really hard. And so, I end of the story is I finally did it. I talked to my manager and I was like, hey, I'm going to work somewhere else now. And it went okay. Obviously, It was uncomfortable and it wasn't like fun, but I came out alive on the other side. And, I just told myself, and Jolynn told me, it's normal to have anxiety surrounding this. And I just validated my emotions, and she helped validate my emotions, and I came out of it alive, and I'm going to have a new job now, and I'm excited about that. Mm-hmm. And so, all good things, but there are hard things in the good things.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so capable of doing the hard stuff.
Yeah, and having hard conversations. Sometimes, it's worth it, because in order to get the things that you want, sometimes you have to do something hard.
Yeah, sometimes what you want is on the other side of an uncomfortable situation. Yeah.
And Jolynn said something good too afterwards when I was telling her about it too. And she was saying that, sometimes the longer, what'd you say? Because I'm going to say it wrong.
The longer we wait to do something that we're scared of or afraid of or worried about, the bigger it gets.
Yes. And that is very true, because the more that you sit and think about it and think about you're trying to think about all the possible scenarios, because I'm a big what if person, and I'm like, well, what if they said this to me in response, or what if they responded this way, what would I say? And I'm trying to make myself feel better by thinking through it, but then I'm just thinking, and I feel like I feel like what you said is true, it gets more and more unrealistic too in my head. I'm thinking that I'm going to make everybody upset, and it's becoming such a big thing to me, when really, quitting a job feels like a big deal, but in the long run, I'm moving from one job to another. Exactly. It is a normal thing.
And you're doing what works best for you as well. I think I also want to point that up is that what works for you is never, I think, is never a bad thing, within reason, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, I think this job fits you better. This job fits what your needs are better for the next season of your life. And I think that anybody that loves and supports you can value and see that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I appreciated that. So what was your moment?
yeah. So we had a tornado watch last night and I didn't know. And
a warning.
A warning. I don't really know the difference.
Yeah.
Honestly.
This is part of the problem.
This is part of the problem.
I'm going to print it out for you, the two definitions, and I'm
Yeah.
going to make you put it on your mirror.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
But so I was getting ready to go. I had plans to go out with like a few friends in Nashville last night. And me and Giannis were getting ready to leave. And, you know, I was getting ready in the mirror. You know how I do. You know how I do. I don't know if you know how I do. But I was like, you know, feeling myself, feeling the music, looking good, and getting excited. I was hyping myself up. And Tiffany calls me. And Tiffany doesn't usually call me. And I get a call. And it's Tiffany. And
This is amazing
I'm like,
storytelling. I love
thanks. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll pick up the phone. Because I was like, why is she calling me? She knows that I'm like doing stuff.
Right.
And anyways, I picked up the phone and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm not kidding you. It sounded that sharp. And I was like, excuse me. You know what I'm doing, first of all. Second of all, why are you calling me? But I was like, I'm going out. And you were like, where are you going? And I was like,
because I knew.
Girl. I was like, this girl, she knows. And I was like, and she was like, no, I said Nashville. I'm going to Nashville because we live close to Nashville. And she was like, well, there's a tornado in Nashville. And I was like, okay. And
that's exactly how you reacted. I was like, okay, so that's not enough to rock the boat.
Your point. And she was like, right now it's an active tornado and it's heading to you. And I was like, really though? Are you sure? And she was like, yes, Jolyn, there's a tornado outside. She's like, I'm leaving the area because we live right beside each other. And I was like, okay, well, I hope you're safe or something like that. And she was like,
you were going to proceed with your plans of driving straight for the huge, large, destructive tornado as it was described on the weather app.
Yeah. And I have my husband in the room with me. And so I have Tiffany on speaker. And I was like, Giannis, does it look like it's storming outside to you? Because obviously, you know, I can tell by looking at the clouds. I'm like a meteorologist or something. And Giannis looks outside, who actually likes to believe that he's a meteorologist. And he looks outside and he looks up at the clouds and he's like, they're going up vertically and swirling into the sky.
He's like, I am watching a tornado form in our yard.
And I was like, but
still unfazed.
Yeah, I was like, is that how tornadoes form though? Like maybe the clouds just look a little weird. And I was like, can we really see like it's night outside? And he was like, no, yeah, I can see it. And I was like, well, do you think we can still go out? Like,
yeah. And I'm just, at this point, I shouldn't have even been on the phone anymore, but I was. And so the three of us, you and your husband and me are in this conversation and I'm trying to convince you like not to go out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know, at that point, it's really none of my business, but like, I was like, well, I'm here. So
yeah, she's like on the phone.
She's going to keep educating.
And she's like on the phone and like in her house 2 doors down, like screaming and like wrangling her cats. And she's like, Rena, where are you? And I'm just like, should we go out? Like, I kind of still want to go.
Yeah, like I'm in a rush to leave the area that's not even going to be hit by the tornado. And she's about to drive like into the literal tornado. And I was like, how do I get across to her that this is very unsafe?
Yeah. And so she was like, I'm getting the cats and I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, are you getting the cats? Like, that seems pretty serious. And she was like, yes, the cats can't stay in this haystack of a house.
Well, my husband called it a cracker box.
Cracker box. But yeah, and I was like, oh, I guess we live in a cracker box too, because we literally live in the exact same house, two houses
Our houses
apart.
are the actual same house.
Yeah,
Like we don't live in the same
the same house,
but they are the same house. This neighborhood just has the
yes.
same house.
They have like 4 different layouts, and we share a layout.
They're the same exact layout. Yeah. It's really nice actually, because
It
I know
actually
where
is
like
really
everything
cool.
is.
But yeah, so I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't go. And she was like, yeah, like it's like touched down in 5 different places. You definitely should not drive into a tornado. And I was like, well, I guess I can text my friends and tell them I'm not going to come. And Giannis was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Because now Tiffany had gotten Giannis on board.
Yeah, Giannis was on board, and I was like, at least I've caught one of them, and maybe he'll convince you.
Yeah, and so we did hang up, and then Giannis and I were like, okay, let's go to my parents' house. And so we drove to my parents' house, which is like a few minutes away from where we live, and we took our cats with us too, because if Tiffany was taking her cats, I was like, I definitely don't want to risk Ash and Chester's lives. So I was like, I'll like drive into the storm and leave Ash and Chester to fend for themselves. But I was like, well, if we're leaving, then we should evacuate with the cats too. So we took the cats, and Tiffany, in other words, Tiffany saved my life. So, which I'm thankful
You're welcome.
for. Yeah.
I'm always here.
Which I think brings me into our topic for today, which is like, how do we define a healthy friendship? Because obviously we have a healthy friendship enough where she calls me and she's like, you're about to die. And I'm like, maybe.
And I was like, let's not be stupid.
Yeah, she was like, Jolyn, I don't want to do the podcast tomorrow. And my moment for the week be that my friend didn't make it through a tornado.
I did say that. I thought maybe that would, I thought maybe the drama would. Like,
yeah, I do respond to drama quite well.
I figured that would get your attention.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But bringing it back to kind of what we're talking about today is, which we like to start with definitions. So how do you define a healthy friendship, Tiff?
So my definition of a healthy friendship is 2 people who have the best intentions for each other and encourage each other through life, and are consistent but give each other space and respect for the other's individuality. In the beginning of the definition, I say that have the best intentions for each other, like 2 people, they have to both have the best intentions for each other. And I want to emphasize the best intentions because sometimes just having like good or decent intentions for somebody or not having bad intentions for them is not good enough, because it's nice, but sometimes having the best intentions is a very powerful thing, because it affects the way that your relationship goes. Because I feel like, to use our friendship as an example, there have been times where you could have listened to me talking about like my plan for something, or whenever I come to you for advice, as long as it doesn't sound destructive to my life, you could just be like, yep, sounds good. Like you're doing great. And, sometimes people want to hear that validation of like, yes, you're doing good. And so as a friend, sometimes you get caught up in, I want to make them feel like they're making the right decision. I want to make them feel good. But I feel like there are times, and have been times where, like you tell me something and that you think I could do better. And that's important to me, because that
especially if you're like asking for that too.
Right. Yeah. And
don't do it unsolicited.
Yeah. Unless your friend is about to drive into a tornado.
Yeah,
but
that's very true.
then I will cross that line. And
you're like, actually hold the front door.
But yeah, it makes a big difference whenever you want to encourage me to be like my very best self, and to be true to myself. And I think too, respecting each other's individuality is big. Yeah. Because I think that respecting that your good friend, you may have similar values, but you're still going to have differences. And respecting each other's differences is huge for me in the way I think of friendship and healthy friendship, because it's really, really important to know that you're not going to align on everything just because you're really good friends. And you don't want, like, if somebody's not okay with you having a different opinion than them, then that's like a red flag in a friendship.
Right.
But anyway, that's my definition. What's your definition?
Yeah. So my definition is like, I think healthy friendships are a safe place to land. When I think of my friendship with Tiffany, because I'll probably refer to my friendship with her a lot throughout the podcast, because I do reference this as probably one of the, if not the most healthiest friendships in my life right now, that she is a safe place for me just to be myself. She is encouraging when I need encouragement. She is gives me feedback when I need feedback, and she has a willingness. And I think in a genuine, healthy friendship, there is a willingness there to sit with each other through all of it, through all the seasons of life, right? Like Tiffany has sat with me in moments where I feel really defeated and not capable. And she's also celebrated with me in the big things. And now her and I are doing a podcast together, which is something we've always talked about doing, but we like never acted on. And I think that it's so cool to have, and not even cool, but I feel so blessed and like I think blessed is a good word, like lucky, fortunate to have found a friend who has a lot of the same values as I do, and at the same time is also so true to herself that she is comfortable allowing me to also be myself.
And I also like that you said, like, sit with, like, that you used the term to sit with you through everything, because I think that's really important too, is that, not somebody who is able, a healthy friendship is somebody who's also able to just sit with you sometimes through things, sometimes literally sit with, but also just like sit with you and be there for you, and not always trying to be the fixer, but just like going through it with you and getting on your level, and, going through the hard times with you instead of feeling like, there are times like I had a death in the family recently, and there's nothing that you could have said to or like done for me. Like you can't make that situation better for me.
No,
And
I think I literally even said that. I was like, I literally can't do anything to
yeah,
make
like
this
there
better
are
for
some
you.
situations
Like there's nothing to say
that are just terrible. And
Yeah.
there's sometimes whenever, and it's really good to have a friend who, in those big moments when these terrible things happen in life and there's nothing to do about it, there's nothing you can do to actually help. Sometimes it's good to just have friends, like one of my other friends, like I had called her and she like cried on the phone with me, like it's good to just have those friends who will sit and will go through it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Because I also think, too, there's that humility in, like, being able to sit with somebody and being able to, not even being able to, but willing to.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is that willingness as well, is willingness to show up, to be there, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think friends come in all shapes and sizes, right? So, and what I mean by that is that friendships come in all shapes and sizes. So all of your friendships should like have similar, I think, and ideally our friends have similar values as us, especially if they're close friends. And I think with healthy friendships too, you probably need a base layer of like some similar values. And at the same time, I think what we're going to find is that not all friendships are going to look the same. So maybe, Tiffany needed someone to cry with her, and I'm not like a huge crier. Actually, I'm a big crier. But like, but maybe that's what she needed at that time, but I wasn't able to give it to her. And so for her to be able to have someone that she can lean on and cry with is huge, being able to have different people for different situations, or even different people for the same situations, because what I offer is not the same as what Tiffany offers, and what Tiffany offers isn't the same as what my other friends offer. And so it's totally okay to have like your different needs met by different people.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I think too, just to mention a couple of things that make a friendship healthy.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think one of the biggest things is mutual respect, because
Facts.
because having mutual respect for each other is huge in a friendship, because
Right.
if there's no respect, then that's going to trickle down to the way you treat each other, the way you speak to each other, and the way you communicate, which another one is communication.
Yeah.
And that like healthy communication and boundaries is huge with friendships, because
being comfortable to set boundaries, but also respecting boundaries.
Yeah, that's really important that you said that, because both of those are really important, because it's like on you to set your own boundaries for your friends, and for any relationship. But, with friends, it's really important to set those boundaries. But then as like being on the other side of it to your friend, like you need to respect their boundaries, and you need to respect your own boundaries too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you need to be able to say no whenever you want to say no. And
Yes, no is a full sentence.
yeah.
Like we said in our boundaries podcast.
Yeah, we like boundaries a lot, because they help a lot.
Definitely.
But I mean, there's times where we've practiced boundaries in our friendship for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a healthy friendship, you feel safe with boundaries. Like boundaries don't seem intimidating in a healthy friendship.
Yeah, and they're not offensive either.
No, yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times people take boundaries very offensively. Like if you're setting a boundary for yourself, which is, ensuring your own like safety and your own self, and where you want, like we talked about in the boundaries episode, like where a boundary is like where you end and someone else begins. So
Yes.
even with a friend, it's not like you're putting up a wall for them, but you're just saying, hey, this is like what I can take care of myself, and I don't need your help with, and I don't want your help with. And, these are things that I'm sure of in my life and I don't really want touched. And like, these are mine.
Right.
And then like, here is where our friendship begins. And this is my line. And I think that the more you communicate those boundaries, the healthier your friendship will be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, what makes a healthy friendship is valuing someone's autonomy as well, which makes me think of boundaries, because when we value, like when I value Tiffany's ability to set boundaries with me, or when I value Tiffany's decision to say no, and I'm not like, are you sure though? Or it'll be fun. Come on, like,
that's
I don't
all
push
trying
her
to guilt somebody.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's
just
so...
like I didn't guilt you to go to the Post Malone concert with me. When you said no, I was like, well, she doesn't want to go. And so, like, I don't want to try to force Jolene into wanting to go with me, because why would I want her to go do something that she doesn't want to do?
Nobody wants me like that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it probably wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It probably would have been a good time. I don't mean it in that way. Like, it wouldn't have been a good time, but it's like, I want it to be a healthy friendship. Like, like, I want it to be a good time for the both of us.
Right.
And we can find other things to do that we both want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, too, like, even bringing back the Post Malone thing is, like, Tiffany probably... she didn't have the time, but like has other friends that would go to Post Malone with her and serve that purpose for her. But that was not what she had at the time. It's not that you didn't. It's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of trying.
That's true. I really did try, and nobody likes Posty apparently. In my
not enough
group.
To see him in concert for me.
And it was a good deal too. I'm just saying the tickets were a really good deal. It's like $100.
It was actually a good deal. I still said
but
no.
Unfortunately, I mean, if I had a time travel machine, I would go back and I would go to Post Malone alone.
As you fucking should.
Post Malone alone. I was about to say, what's going on?
As you should, though.
Yeah. I mean,
because truly, like, take on it. Take on it. Take ownership of it.
Take on it.
Take it on.
Yeah.
Jump on it.
And that was a lesson for me,
Yeah,
like I
true.
I should have just gone alone.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another cool thing about friendships is that you learn a lot about yourself in it too, like, which I think is awesome. But definitely, I think bring that up to Tiffany definitely valued my autonomy and that respected my decision to say no and respected my boundaries around
and
that.
I didn't try to like guilt you into it. And I also just want to point out, like, I genuinely was not upset at you. Like,
no, she wasn't.
I was upset because like I was upset the fact that I wasn't going to go and that like I didn't have somebody to go with me, but I in no way like was upset at you.
No, yeah. I think that's a really good point to make as well, is that in a healthy friendship, I also knew that Tiffany was probably going to be upset, and at the same time I knew, okay, if Tiffany is upset at me because I said no, that's not really a friendship I want to continue, right?
Well, and it's like I think that's a good thing to bring up too, because sometimes even if a good friend, like, nobody's perfect, and obviously like in a friendship sometimes you might upset each other, but it's wow, this sparkling water is really getting to me. I agree.
It gets to me.
But it is really Something good to bring up, though, that if somebody does get upset at you, sometimes it's okay to like not react to that and just
Yeah.
think like, okay, well, they'll get over it. This is not like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
if I would have got upset at you, I feel like that's how you would have handled it. Like you would have
Yeah.
just been like, okay, she'll get over it.
Yeah, definitely. I probably would have taken distance, honestly, because I don't respond well to stuff like that. But I think, though, Tiffany was upset, and I knew that
Like I was
she was upset.
disappointed.
Yeah, she was disappointed, and she has every right to be disappointed. And at the same time, I knew she wasn't disappointed at me. And I think
Right.
that's a really big difference. And it's important to note in healthy friendships is that we accept and make space for each other's emotions and don't take ownership of
too.
each other's emotions, too.
Yeah, like don't take it personally.
Yeah. So why is it important to have healthy friendships? Why is it important?
Well, I think that first of all, there's the cliche, but it is true that, you know, you are like the people that are closest to you, like the couple of people that are closest to you and that you choose to surround yourself with and you spend your time with is who you're going to become like. I mean, whenever you hang out with somebody a lot, you start picking up on their little sayings or like mannerisms, and you just become more like the people you're around. Same with like a significant other. You might start becoming more like that person.
Yeah.
And so when you pick a significant other, you should like them because you're probably going to be more like them whenever, especially if you get married and you live together for years and years and years, like you're going to pick up on parts of their personality.
Yeah.
And although everybody has their own individual personality, like you are going to become more like them. And it's also going to, if the people you surround yourself with don't respect you, I believe you're going to have less respect for yourself because you're going to be hearing negative things towards yourself and it's going to reinforce negative beliefs in yourself.
Yeah,
Whereas if you surround yourself with the opposite, with people who speak positively and encouragingly to you and love you, you're going to love yourself more and you're going to respect yourself more. So I think that's why it's so important.
100p. Yeah, I think another reason it's important to have healthy friendships is that it sets you up for success. It's the same way we would want to eat healthy and exercise, right? Same way we want to take care of our body is that it sets us up for the most success. And I think about that with healthy friendships too. Like when we take time to invest in healthy friendships, it sets us up for healthy connection with other people. And at our core, humans are connection-based beings. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to have friendships and be in belonging to people. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we foster healthy relationships, healthy communication, healthy understanding, healthy boundaries, so that we can set the baseline for what that looks like throughout the rest of our lives, right? We want to surround ourselves, like Tiffany said, with people that are healthy so that it rubs off on us a little bit, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the podcasts I've seen with successful people are like, I don't know why I felt the need to successful, but like it's true though. A lot of like podcasts and books and like YouTube videos, like shows, movies, I don't know, whatever media you consume that talks about successful people, like the top 1%, they talk about how like you surround yourself with people that inspire you.
Yeah.
And because what happens is that your brain like comes up to that level because it wants to be engaged and interacted with on that level and on that degree. So it's also like finding what is truly authentically you and what truly authentically feels inspiring to you and pursuing that with your people and pursuing that in your friendships.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's something really important that I had like made a note about was that, you know, picking friends that inspire you and people that, you know, aren't afraid to like push you a little bit, like out of your comfort zone, because, you know, back to the example of quitting my job, like you want somebody who's going to be able to like push you to do things that are slightly out of your comfort zone, but in a positive way. Like not pushing you to do things that are outside of your comfort zone that you don't need to do, but things that will truly help you in life.
Like I wouldn't have encouraged Tiffany to quit her job if she didn't have a genuinely better opportunity.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, I feel like that'd be like really mean to like Be like, you should totally go for a lower paying job where you have to do harder work and don't like it. Like,
Yeah.
versus what you're set up with now and what you accepted. It's like
Yeah.
way more of what she's been looking for.
Yeah.
So.
But, it's like you're there to encourage. So you want somebody who inspires you and who makes moves that you want to move. Makes
wanna
moves
move.
that you want to make.
You want to move tonight.
She's been listening to a lot of music.
Yeah. We're gonna move. All right.
Just let me know when you're finished. And
Okay, I've got to come up with a jingle for healthy friendships. Do you want to ship it in a healthy friendship? Because we can sail in healthy friendship ships together.
the only things you've rhymed so far are ship and ship. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, well, help me.
I know I don't claim to be a songwriter.
Don't you have a broken hip?
Now you're talking about my job. Bringing my job.
Do you like chips? Because I like chips. And we can have some chips while we talk about friendship.
All right. Are you done now?
I'm done.
Does it feel good?
I don't know.
Okay.
I might break out into song later.
Well,
You better watch out. You better not cry.
Here comes the Christmas music.
You better not pout. I'm telling you why.
I'm not going to sing that.
Why?
I don't like Christmas music.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Whoa. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Really brought some Christmas spirit into the episode. That's great. I appreciate that. So I have a question for you.
Yeah. I'm all ears.
So why is it difficult to, or what do you think about the topic of it being difficult to find friends? Because it is. Sometimes it can be really difficult to find good friends. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I actually want to validate too how normal it is to with difficulty in finding friends. I think especially with the generation we're in now, but also like this day in society we are now, especially post COVID. I think COVID really impacted a lot of like our social competency, but also social gatherings. Just to be really blunt, I think COVID packed into our social competency. But because we were locked away for years. The government.
We didn't see the sunlight.
I never knew what it was like to breathe the outside air.
Maybe we had a little lack of oxygen, lack of vitamin D for sure.
Faux show. But we both actually worked during that time because we were both first responders. But
love that.
Not anymore. Anyway, I said not anymore. We're both not anymore first responders, so.
I technically am.
You technically are.
For 2 more weeks.
For 2 more weeks. But not in 2 weeks.
That's true.
So that's just
December 26th.
I just wanted to remind you.
Coming for you.
Yay.
I don't know if I want to be a first responder.
I don't want to be a first responder. I actually hated it. It made me so angry that I had to.
I'd like to be like a second or third responder.
Yeah, actually, I'd
like to respond and help, but not first.
No, I'd like to be last on the scene.
Last on the scene. I see that. It's a lot less pressure. Yeah. You're right.
But no, I actually hated being a first responder because I have major health anxiety too. Oh my God, it was so funny. I was I worked in a health clinic, but I worked the front desks, which is so first responder. And so I was taking payments, and I was because it was right when it first happened. And I was all these payments are covered in COVID. And so I was behind in a little box, and inside the box I had gloves and a mask on. And every time I used money, or I would collect money with gloves on, and every time, this is so wasteful, but every time I would collect the money, I would discard the gloves I had on and throw them away and get a new pair of gloves.
How many gloves I waste every day? We have to wear
Money's
gloves.
Disgusting.
COVID or not.
Yeah.
And patient to patient, obviously you switch your gloves, but I don't know. I don't even know how many pairs of gloves I use a day, but so many. And I'll put on gloves, administer one medication, take the gloves off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how many pairs of gloves I go through
It's
a
a
day,
lot.
but I should count on one of my last days because
You really should.
I think I will.
I would love to know the
I'll count.
number.
I'll count. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of gloves go to waste.
Yeah.
For
Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Why is it difficult to find friends? That was a great question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, how did we get
I don't know how we
there?
got to
Okay.
first responders. But I do want to validate that it is really COVID. I started talking about
that's
COVID.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How difficult it is to find friends. I think especially in the age range of like post high school, post college,
Yeah.
all the way to like before you have kids. Because I think once you have kids, you start interacting with more people who are in the same phase of life as you, because you're like connected typically through like school or something like that.
Well,
where
and
your
like
kids
all
are
my
going.
coworkers have kids and they
Yeah.
talk about their children, and like it's cute.
It's great, yeah. But I think it's difficult when you're somebody who is not at that stage of life
but
yet,
you're that age.
But you're that age.
Yeah.
So I
It's true.
definitely want to validate too, like if you are having difficulty finding friendships, that's totally okay. You know, I think it's very normal, and to give yourself grace in that. And at the same time, I think it's also good to examine what's going on inside of you. Because I know for me, for a really long time, when I had difficulty finding friendships, I still have difficulty finding friendships. For me, it's like I have unrealistic expectations. That's something I struggle with a lot. It's just because I expect people to become fast and close friends with me. And I expect, like, when I have like one small like click with somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're a match. And it's like so exciting. But in all reality, that's probably not the truth. And because you're not going to click with everybody, and that's okay. You're not supposed to click with everybody. It takes time to connect. It takes time to learn people. And like, even when I learn people, maybe I don't like them down the road, or maybe they don't like me down the road. And that's okay. Not everybody's going to like me. I don't want everybody to like me, right? I mean, I think the old people pleaser in me would be like, yes, please like me. But I do think that overall it's difficult to find friends, and and I just want to validate too, like maybe you're having unrealistic expectations of friends, and so just to give yourself a little break and like be patient with yourself, like give yourself time to find friends. And on top of that,
don't compare yourself.
Yeah, don't compare yourself too. And I like going off of that too, I think a lot of like social media, TV shows, movies, stuff like that, they show people in like these huge friend groups, like where like in Friends, literally Friends, like they're all like such close friends, or a New Girl where it's like 4 of them, or like 5 of them really.
Or especially like I feel like it's rare to have a group of, maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's rare.
It might just be us.
I feel like it's rare to have a group of like I'll see some people post or like movies that are like, these 10 girls like having a night together, or going out together, or going on a trip together, and it's just crazy because I'm like that is so unrealistic. And it's really hard, I think, to have that many people in a group that get along and have a true like genuine friendship.
And it's totally okay too if it's not like besties forever. Like I think finding people that you share common interests with is important. And at the same time, I think common interests aren't so common, right? Like I love books, and so does Tiffany, but we like different genres of books. We've talked about this before. I think being able to, like, although it's a common interest, it's not like so common, right? And so finding people where you really have like good common interests with is important. And at the same time, I think more importantly, especially for healthy friendships, what we want to see is like a baseline where we're connecting on values, which is kind of what we talked about a long time ago in one of our podcasts, is the importance of values and how we get to like have values, and how values really do shape the meaning and purpose of our life. And with that, it also shapes what your friendships look like too. So just go easy on yourself and take time to figure out who you are, what you want, what you like, what you don't like.
And I like what you said about the like having the same or more similar values to somebody is more important than having the same like pastimes or interest, which is so important, because you're going to find that you're going to get along and have a better time with somebody who has a similar value to you, and you're going to have more genuine connection over a similar value, rather than that you both like to play golf.
Right. Yeah, exactly. What about you though? Why do you think is difficult
Um,
about finding friends and
Well, I think a couple of things. I think that, like you said, having patience, but
yeah.
also like so important not to, something I think I used to do, but it's so important not to try to force yourself into a friend group that you'd like to be a
Oh
part
yeah,
of,
that's a good point.
or just even one friend. Like, you see a person that you're like, oh, well, it seems like they're a great friend and they have a lot of friends, so I would like to be friends with them. And so you try to like mold yourself into what you think would fit in with them or fit in with that friend group.
Right.
And I think that can be really destructive, because if you're trying to move towards being more authentically yourself, and then you're trying to fit into a friend group or fit in with a friend, and you're changing things that might seem small about yourself, and you're talking about certain topics that don't feel like yourself because you're trying to make conversation with these people that you're trying to be friends with, or you're doing events with them that you're not actually interested in. Like, you're slowly, it can be like a really like small changes at a time, but it's going to make you less authentic and less your true self,
Yeah.
and you're going to be acting like
It
something
takes
that you're not.
yeah, it takes away from who you are and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, that's
And what you
true.
bring to the table is like you, and like that's the best
Yeah.
part about you is that you're you.
Yeah. And I think too, like, talking about being our authentic self, like, I think that whenever you're your authentic self, or as close as you can be, it's going to attract other people that are authentically themselves, or people that align with those values.
Yeah, I want to just emphasize that.
Little
Like,
exclamation points in the
that's what
iMessage.
I think of when I think of emphasizing. I'm
Beep.
like,
Yeah. That's what you should do whenever you want to emphasize something. But I also think too, like, sometimes friendships change over time.
yes.
Or I don't think I know that because I've had it happen. Like, I think that
Yeah,
everybody has probably had that happen
absolutely.
with at least one friend.
And friendships change because we change.
Yeah.
Like people change.
Yeah. You change, and it's not like you and your friend always change in the same direction. And I think too, something that it sounds negative, but it's just the truth. Like, sometimes you'll have a friend who was not being their true self in the beginning of a friendship. In other words, being a little bit fake, in a friendship.
Yeah.
And that does happen,
And,
unfortunately. And so then later on, maybe they're going to show their true self. And
right.
maybe they were hiding parts of themselves. And then once they got more comfortable with you, they, started acting like their true self. I know this
Yeah,
happens a
and it's
lot
not
in like dating
compatible.
relationships, but it can happen in
Yeah.
friendships too.
It's a part of like people pleasing, honestly. You want to fit in, you want to belong, and that like I said earlier, there's absolutely nothing wrong
Yeah.
with wanting to belong and to be a part of a community or be a part of something.
Yeah.
What is worrisome or what is concerning is when you are rejecting yourself in hopes that others accept you. So,
Yeah, I like that. And I think that can be, after, like, sometimes people only pretend for so long, or they can't keep that up
yeah.
for very long. And so somebody that you're friends
Yeah.
with that you seem to really align with could have been almost just like fitting themselves to mold with your own values and your own personality and your
Yeah.
interest. And then they could, get tired of it. And they could start acting like their actual self, and maybe you two don't align. And I think in that scenario, that it's okay to take a step back from the friendship, or to not be friends with that person anymore. And I really want to normalize that too. Like, it's okay to like respectfully end a friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not, like I said, like not all friendships are going to be forever friendships. It's, sometimes friends are only there for a season.
Yeah.
And just like some friends come into my life for a season, sometimes I only come into other people's life for a
Yeah.
season too.
And I think too, like, I mean, there have been friends that I've had in the past that I'm really thankful that I had them when I had them. But they weren't meant to be forever. They were meant for a season. And I think
Yeah.
that can be really cool, because I think that life has a way of, it sounds like cheesy, but it's like life has a way of like bringing you and someone that you like, you might need each other for a specific time in your
Yeah.
life, or a specific job. Like, you guys
Yeah.
can get through it together. And maybe it's somebody who will stay an acquaintance, but not like a best friend. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you could have that person for that time in your life. And then, instead of like one of my favorite things to think about when I think about friendships is, I don't know where I heard this so long ago, but like whenever, not to like hold on to things tightly with a closed
Right.
fist.
Yeah.
Like allow things to come and pass, naturally.
Yeah.
And whenever it's time for someone to leave your life, like don't just hang on to them and try to force it,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be as good then, but just allow, open your hand and allow them to go,
Yeah.
if it's their time to go, and it will feel natural, I think.
Yeah, I want to add on to that too. I think when we try to control things, we're acting from a place of fear, right? And so when we are acting from a place of fear, we are controlling and like making things like harder. When we're trying to control things, they become more slippery. We can't hold on to it. It doesn't want to stay with us because we're like, right? And fear often makes us feel that we have to control, or often makes us think that if we don't control it, if we don't make it perfect, or if we let go, then it's never going to come back. It's not ours, and we're not worthy, or like there's something wrong with us. Whereas love comes from a place of freedom, or freedom comes from a place of love. So when we truly, like Tiffany said, like let our palm open and let those things fly, let it be free, we're giving our love that freedom. We're letting our friendships fester, but we're letting our friendships grow in love and not fester in fear.
And I like what you said. And it's like the people that are meant to like be in your life for a long time,
Yeah.
they're going to want to stay, and
Yeah,
they're going
absolutely.
to naturally stay. You shouldn't have to like try to force somebody to stay in your life.
100%. I think people's behaviors tell us a lot. Words, you can say a lot with words, and behaviors are really what shows up. So like I think that sometimes it's hard to talk about that, but I do think it's sometimes what we need to hear that we don't want to hear is that if somebody's not showing up for you, or if they're not treating you well, then more than likely they don't want to be your friend. And I think that's a really hard pill to swallow. And it's not anything you've done. I don't think it's anything you've done. I don't think it's anything they've done. I think sometimes you just drift apart.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Sometimes you just don't fit, and
it's just not
better
supposed
to let it be.
Yeah. And sometimes when we let it go, those things do fly away and they don't come back. And I'm curious if like maybe it's meant to be that way. Maybe what we let go doesn't serve us. And maybe we can find peace and accept that.
Yeah.
And maybe that love, when we open our hand, we actually have like a little whole seed of love there. And from there, we can plant it with other friendships. Man, I just got really deep in that. But yeah, we get like,
No, it does. It opens up whenever you let go of a friendship that's not for you, or just something in life that's not for you. It does. I've seen it. It opens up more room for something that is meant for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way.
It's like if you had a certain amount of seats in your car and you filled them with friends, and they're not the right friends, then you're not going to have any like capacity or time to like let a new friend in the car because you've got no seats available.
Yeah.
But if you open up the door and, kick one to the curb.
Get out. Get out right now. It's the end of you and me. It's too late. And I can't wait for you
See, this
to
music
be
I welcome.
Gone. 'Cause I know about her, and I wonder how I bought all the lies. You said that you would treat me right, but you were just a waste of time.
Right. So, but yeah, if you open up a seat, then new person, you see a new person on the horizon, and you're like, you want to get in the car?
Yeah, and maybe
you look like you'd fit in here.
You look like you fit in a little bit better than the last one. But also maybe too, it's like, I think I was thinking of like car seats and like buckling people in, and
like
so
little babies,
and so we don't want to have to like buckle our friends in every time we go for a ride. We want somebody that willingly wants to get in.
You know what I was
thinking? And
thinking?
they can buckle themselves in.
Yeah, I was gonna say people who need. Okay, so you could see a car seat as like something that you need to use to make them fit in.
Oh yes, like
so the car
you
seat,
have to make it work.
Yeah, it's so difficult, but you can make it work.
And if y'all have never tried to put a baby in a car seat, do it because you know how hard it
Yeah.
is to like throw their little arms. And
Yeah, you got to like thread everything through the back of the seat.
it's crazy.
We didn't have kids, but we do
Yeah.
know about that. Yeah.
I've recently put a baby in a car seat, so
But yeah, so you don't want to be buckling little babies
buck
in.
wild with buckle.
You wanna have somebody that is mature and can buckle themselves in their
Yeah,
seat.
somebody who takes responsibility.
That's such a good analogy.
That was a really yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So analogies on a whim.
Yes.
So anyway,
But I think, yeah. So how can we foster healthy friendships? I think I'll go. I'll answer my own question.
all right, you go for it.
Because I'm actually really excited about this one. I think fostering healthy friendships too is getting rid of that jealousy. I know like Tiffany knows this. I'm very protective, but also in other words, that's a nice word for it. I'm very jealous. I like to use encouraging words, not destructive. But it is true. I think I am protective.
But you are both of those things.
Yeah, I am. But I think that that's something I have had to work on a lot, and I've done actually a really good job at it. But I think getting rid of jealousy in friendships is really important. Like what I hope for like everybody in a friendship is to be able to encourage your friends to be successful, to be like the best versions of themselves, like Tiffany was saying, to have other friends, to have many other healthy friendships,
Yeah.
because when we create an environment of love and not an environment of fear, we really get to experience that freedom and that joy of pure, genuine, authentic, and healthy friendship. And that comes from that encouragement.
I also saw something, that book that I was telling you that I was listening to, The Mountain Is You.
Yes.
By
I got
Brianna
it, by the way, on
Wiest.
Audible.
Oh, did you? Oh, good. But yeah, the book is so good. But something that they said in the book about jealousy was really cool. They were talking about how jealousy, well, like, as we know, sometimes it like stems from insecurity.
Yeah.
But it was saying that whenever, like, pay attention and take note of what things you're jealous of, because sometimes it just shows you like what you need or what you're wanting.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Because I can't remember like the example that it used, but say that you are jealous because one of your friends like has another close friend, like what Jolyn was saying, like sometimes that happens, and it's not a good thing. But sometimes instead of just thinking of it as that, think of it like, why am I jealous that my friend, like, why would I not want my friend to have another close friend? Well, it might just be that you like need security and you're afraid of abandonment.
Yeah.
And so
At me next time.
I mean, I wasn't even, I'm sorry.
I'm just joking.
It's like maybe some of us,
Maybe some of us out of the two of us in this room.
but I mean, it actually,
But that is like actually something.
and it can come from like past trauma too.
100%.
So I don't think, I mean, it sounds like such a, an easy thing to write off of being like, like somebody's jealous, like that's annoying. But it's like, you don't know what somebody has been through. Like some people don't have as much jealousy, but like maybe they haven't like had as much loss. And like sometimes you can't control like the loss that you've had in your life. Yeah. And there are things that, whether they're from childhood or from like whatever they're from, there are things that can teach you. Like if you're feeling jealousy or another emotion about like surrounding friendship, you should pay attention to that and try to think like, what happened to make me have this feeling and how can I like answer that? How can I like tell myself that it's okay? But like with that one, it just makes me think like, being scared that you're going to lose somebody. And telling yourself, like we have a good friendship, like just because somebody is friends with somebody else doesn't mean that, I'm going to lose them as a friend and they're just going to leave, because it's unrealistic. And so you can kind of like invalidate your own fears by thinking into it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think for me too, like a lot of that jealousy I used to have did come from like a place of fear. I used to be a very fearful person. And growing and going to my own therapy has really helped me to learn how like when I'm in fear-based thinking, I'm not helping anybody, I'm not helping myself, I'm I think fear-based thinking sets us up for failure or hurt or pain. And being able to realize when you're in that mindset of fear-based thinking, you're not encouraging the healthiest version of yourself to be present.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And I think with healthy friendships, going back to that too, is that, and being in a, not in a fear-based mindset, but in like a love-based mindset or in an acceptance-based mindset, when we accept ourselves, we can be confident in ourselves and be confident in who we are and like what we're bringing to the table. Like, I know for me now that I can genuinely encourage my friends to like be themselves, to have healthy friendships with other people. And at the same time, I think a lot of that comes because I genuinely love myself now. I am very proud of myself. I'm very proud of who I am. And I also have been, you know, in my own work and in like my relationship with like Tiffany and other friends, I've kind of realized too, like that I am a valuable friend. Like I do matter, and I think I am a good friend. And it's, in my opinion, it's a privilege to be my friend. And I think it's a privilege to be, for me to have my friendships that I do. Like I tell Tiffany all the time, like I think it's a privilege to be her friend. Because friendship is a privilege and I feel very grateful for it. And so being confident in who you are, being confident in like what you care about, what you bring to the table, you know, being confident that you are a good friend and that you're worthy of friendship makes for healthier friendships.
Yeah, I think that's really good. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Solid. Gang, gang. Other than that, though, I think there's that communication and understanding as well. Not just communication, but the understanding that accompanies it. Like communication's great. And at the same time, if we don't have understanding, I think that can get in the way of healthy friendships and healthy relationships in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what are, kind of like to wrap this pod up, what's a healthy friendship look like for you?
I think for me, one of the most important things, and I'll kind of reference like our friendship for this,
Okay.
because we really have worked a lot on, you know, just being intentional with each other and intentional with our own like individual mental health, and whatnot. So anyway, so I think that consistency in friendship and also just something about our friendship that's important to me that I look for in other friendships and that I look for, you know, whenever I'm like, sometimes you can be an example to me of like how to be a friend too. And I think that like one time, what was it, like a couple months ago, probably, I came to Jolen's house, and I was feeling super, super anxious. And I just like couldn't really calm down. And you know what I'm talking about?
I remember this.
Yeah. And I'm sure it was memorable. And, but really, it was.
I remember because I felt honored that you wanted to, like, you leaned on me and you brought me into like your space in a vulnerable moment for you. Like to me, that showed me you really trusted me. And
yeah, that's true. And trust is really important too.
And you did it when you were ready. I never pushed you to be like, come to me when you're crying. You know, like I think that's another important thing is like, she came when she could fully trust that I would be there.
Yeah. But like, you know, that example means a lot to me because I was feeling really, really anxious and I came to your house and I said, you know, I'm feeling really anxious. I'm having a lot of trouble right now. Like, you know, basically like self-regulating. I don't know if I was even in the space to use like knowledgeable language like that, but I was just like, I'm not good. Help me. And I just love that in like you paid attention to my actual needs and you instead of being assumptive and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to help her. Like I'm going to fix it. In that scenario, you did exactly what I needed. And you said to me, like, do you want distraction? Like, would you like to, and I think you even were specific, which is also really helpful when somebody's like panicking. You know, you asked me, do you want to like bake some cookies and make a dessert and we can turn on like New Girl because it's my favorite show and it's my comfort show and you know that. And so, you know, you were like, do you want to watch New Girl? Do you want to watch like make a dessert together and do some things and distract ourselves? Or like, would you like to sit down and talk about it? And do you want a hug? And that's one of my favorite things about you too is like, you always like ask if I want a hug because you know, it like makes me bawl normally. Like if I'm in a bad place and somebody hugs me, I'm just like, ah, and it all just, you know,
comes out
waterfall like comes out of my eyes. But yeah, because I feel like it's just really important to me that you aren't assumptive and that you ask me like what I need. And then you're happy to do either one. Like in that moment, I genuinely felt like you would be super excited to like watch New Girl and bake something, but then the way that you asked, you were also like, I'm totally down to sit and talk, and you probably knew that would involve a lot of like tears and panicking and like slow breathing and stuff like that. And it's just like I felt like you were genuinely happy to do either one. And that's so important to me that you like, it just shows that you care and you truly want to be there for me. And it's not like you want to do what is going to make you feel good. You like want to be there like for what I need in the moment. And it just shows me like that you're there like to sit through that with me, and
absolutely.
go through whatever emotion with me. And that just basically encapsulates like how I feel about healthy friendships, is just that like somebody who's going to be consistently there for you and who is going to like you said earlier, like sit with you through the good times and through the bad times, and not try to like. I feel like there's been friends that I've had in the past where like if I'm feeling down, they're like, okay, well let's pep you up and like let's go have a good time, and it was just kind of dismissed. And you're never dismissive of my feelings, and it's really important to me.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, no, that's really sweet. That's good stuff to hear too. Like, just to know like what has made you feel loved and safe too. You know, because I definitely want to continue doing that. Yeah, and I think going off of that too, like reflecting on what healthy friendship looks like to me. I mean, I know we've been talking about it, and I know like our podcast is definitely biased on like what information we share is definitely like stuff that has worked for us or hasn't worked for us. But I'm gonna reflect on our friendship too, just because I think it's probably the easiest place for me to talk about healthy friendship. But when I think of my friendship with Tiffany, I think of a healthy friendship. I think of somebody who accepts me for who I am, for where I'm at. I've never, ever once felt like you've tried to change me or made me feel like I shouldn't be who I am at all. Like, you definitely give me space to be myself. I know that in previous like friendships, I felt like I've had to like change to be who I am or to be accepted, to be seen as worthy. And with Tiffany, I've never had that feeling. I've always felt like she's been genuine and accepting, and not only accepting but understanding. She makes a safe place for me to be myself. I think she does that with everybody probably. I think that's something she does really good. And I think with that, she helps me to be present and stay grounded, and she encourages me to be my most authentic self. And I think that's beautiful. I think, she challenges me, which I need to be challenged every once in a while. She encourages me. She like hopes for me. She has the best intentions for me, and I feel really, really, really blessed to have that. Because I think it's really hard to find people that genuinely like want what is like genuinely best for you. Yeah. And I've never once doubted Tiffany's intentions with me. That sounded really weird, but I've never once doubted like where she. I never doubted her intentions with me, but I've never once doubted like.
This makes me think of like The Bachelor.
I know, right? And I'm gonna give my rose to Tiffany. She has made me feel seen. She has. But I think finding that and I mean, even going off that, like, it's one thing to find that in a like romantic relationship, but to be able to find that in a friendship is really special. Yeah. Another thing too is that Tiffany's very intentional, especially with me. Like, she will, and I'm sure I've seen her be intentional with honestly like all of her like relationships, and that, she's just very intentional with like me talking to me, communicating to me, making sure like I feel heard and understood. And that's really special too. I think intention is hard to find, like somebody who intentionally wants to make sure like, hey, like, I care about you. I know that you're good. I think that's good.
And I just want to point out too, like we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if we said it while we were actually recording or not, but I feel like, you know, being like going back to the part where we we're talking about being patient, like it is like I feel like I have a couple of friendships like right now in my life that I feel like I am at the best place I've ever been with like friendships, but I only have like very few.
Yeah.
And but like a
Same.
few really good friendships like has been so much better than back like in high school or college where
Yeah.
I had like 10 friends. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I feel so much better because all of my friendships are like genuine.
Yeah.
And I think too, you know, but it's like I'm 27 years old.
True.
So I just want to point that out because I feel like I had a lot of disappointment in my friendships. Like whenever I was a little bit younger, and even just like a couple of years ago, you know, like
Yeah.
when it's really disappointing whenever, you know, there's movement in your friendships and you lose friends or like
Yeah.
you move states because of college or because of your job or your significant other's job or you know, like there's just not a lot of, like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of time in your like 20s whenever things change a lot
Yeah.
and you like will probably lose friends and gain friends and it's a really difficult time, but you know, I mean, it's like I like at the age of 27 like I'm just now to a place where I'm like, okay, I think like these friends are like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
And
it's
it's
not that I
subject to change too, probably.
yeah,
You know?
but it's just, you know, I think that sometimes it takes a really long while and it really like I just also want to point out that like as you work on your own personal mental health,
Yes.
that really helps
That's a good
you
point.
to like refine your friendships and refine the people
Right.
that you're surrounding yourself with. And I think that's just something I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to touch on, just because we both found each other. Well, also to mention too, Tiffany and I have been like friends since we were in second grade.
Yeah.
You know, so we've known each other for a long time, and at the same time, our friendship has fluctuated in like how close we are throughout our
Yeah.
lives, and this is probably the closest we've been together since we've known each other,
Yeah.
and I'm very thankful for that. But also, like, that does go to show, like, it does take time. Like, you
Yeah.
know, be patient with yourself. Tiffany and I were like not always super close, and like there were probably like months or years we went without talking to each other, like in our entire expanse of knowing each other. And so,
and that's a good point too. Like if you have somebody in your life that you feel like is slightly more distant, like I said, like open palm, like let like, you know, like if somebody's like meant to be a really close friend to you, like I just believe that naturally like you'll come back together.
yeah.
Like I feel like that happened with us. Like I don't feel like
Yeah,
one of us was like,
absolutely.
hey, we really need to hang out. You know what I mean? Like it
We're
just kind of
definitely
naturally
like
happened.
not the kind of people that are like, hey, miss you so much, let's hang out soon. Like that's just not our vibe. It's like which that's great. If like I love it when people are like that, because
Yeah.
I need people like that in my life, because I'm just not the pursuer typically at all. And with that though too, like Tiffany and I think we found our way to each other a lot. Like it was just always, it's always just kind of been like in passing.
Yeah.
And then we kind of just like started hanging out more. And like, I felt like there was like a space and time for us to like really begin to develop our friendship on a deeper level. And we jumped on that opportunity. And like, we were like, oh, wow, like this is actually a lot of fun. And like, I really like hanging out with you. And like, you know, and I think being able to celebrate our friendship has also been really special too. You know, I think something we do a good job at is celebrating each other.
Yeah.
And I think in healthy friendships, you find that you celebrate your friendship.
Yeah.
But I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to add.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening and making space for confronting the uncomfortable today.
And next week, we're going to kind of keep on going talking about friendship.
Yeah.
But this has been a very serious friendship episode. And so we are going to, I don't know, like maybe tell some stories and tell some like red flags and green flags type of thing.
Maybe talk about the icks of friendship.
Yeah.
I know that's like a TikTok trend I've seen.
And, you know, if you liked this podcast, give it a share, share with your family and friends. And keep listening.
Yeah.
Listen in next week for our new episode.
Yeah.
Always
Subscribe.
drop on
Yeah.
Sundays.
Sundays or Mondays.
Sundays are the new episodes.
Sundays, yeah. Jinx. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Google Podcasts.
And we have our email, confrontyourmind@gmail.com for thoughts, questions, or concerns, or new topic ideas.
Yeah.
Confrontyourmind@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or slide into these DMs on
true.
Instagram. We're
That's
also
true.
going to be making a TikTok and a YouTube today. So
So
coming
hopefully
your
you
way.
can just go anywhere and search our name, and
Yes,
there will be.
we will be there. But overall, just remember that we are all learning.
And don't be afraid to get confrontational this week.
Keep it cute until we meet again.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I wanted your cup.
Oh, okay.